back once again with another episode of MD All Access. We have a very special guest this week, Seth Feroce. Seth, I don't think we've talked since last year's Arnold, man. What have you been up to? How was 2016 for you?
It was very good. It was awesome. Ever since coming back, it's been kick-ass.
You've had a pretty busy year. Just give us, an update, what you've been up to as far as stuff with Blackstone. You've had a couple other projects you've been working on.
Yeah, I mean, everything with Blackstone, I work really well with everyone there. I mean, the guys, PJ, everybody there, they have the same mindset of people is pretty good. So that's one of the reasons we work really well together. But with everything else, All American Roughneck, we launched Feroce Iron Academy. Everything's been on the up and up. It's pretty awesome. The Feroce Iron Academy, it's pretty much, everybody has questions all the time, and they want to know about nutrition. They want to know about training. They want to know about supplement. They want to know about protocols. They want to know about everything that we do as professionals. And it's like, you can't answer all the questions personally. So we said, why don't we create a website where it's all video-based, and it's pretty much my head in videos. And we've been taking, what we did this weekend was we took all the questions that people have been asking, compiled them, and then just started chipping away and making videos about Q&As. So it's pretty awesome. That project alone is probably I'm very proud of it. It's really awesome.
Yeah, it definitely seems like people are going a lot more towards the video Q&As than traditional blogs and articles. And I think people like, they're hearing you kind of shoot right from the hip and getting it straight from your mouth. And they know, when it's coming from you, it's not something, that you had a chance to write and rewrite and edit and everything like that. It's just like, this is what's on my mind. So
we've gotten a really good response from the raw and uncut. It's kind of, and that's the type of person I am. So I try and come at everything as the fan of bodybuilding that I am, as well as a gym rat, but also as an entrepreneur or businessman, however you want to phrase that. But come at it from an angle to make sure that we're given something that me personally I would like, I would purchase. So that's what that is. And then with All American Roughneck, that's my company. It's my clothing company. That's just me. That's just me being the Western PA hick, fuck up, enjoy everything, love life, work hard, just enjoy the daily grind. That's what the company is.
Yeah, no, I've seen some of the stuff, the shooting and the guns and knives and stuff. It's a lot like a lot of the stuff I'm into. So I've definitely enjoyed that. So
fuck yeah, man, it's a good time.
All right. Well, hey, let's rewind a little bit because there's a lot of the guys that have been following bodybuilding for a while. Obviously know who you are, know a little bit of your background. But for people who are maybe a little bit newer to MD, or wherever they're going to watch this interview on social media or whatever, they might not know that much about you. So we know your first big win was the Pittsburgh in 2009. You went on the Nationals, but give us a little bit before that win in Pittsburgh in 2009. How did you get starting in training and competing and all that stuff?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I was the fat kid growing up. I was whenever I was 13 years old, I remember being fat, chubby, chunky, just going through puberty, and I didn't really have the self-confidence. I mean, I hung out with some older kids, and everybody had a nickname, and my nickname was Chubbs. And I was like, okay, that's kind of okay. But then when girls started calling me Chubbs, I was like, nope, fuck that, I'm done. That's not going to happen anymore. But at the time, I really didn't know. I was like, it's that fucked up time you're going through puberty and you don't know why you don't know anything. And I remember I was sitting on the couch eating potato chips, Snyder's barbecue potato chips, and I'm flicking through the channels, and I remember Commando was on with Arnold.
Oh yeah.
And all jacked in the beginning, and I'm like, I just want to be big. If I look like that, nobody's going to call me Chubbs anymore. So, at that point, I just was like, okay, I'm done. I'm done eating shit. I'm not going to eat potato chips, no more pop. I don't know what to do, though. So I just stopped eating all the garbage, and then my old man, he was like, I was like, I want to be muscular, Dad. And he's like, I started doing push-ups and sit-ups. So for the next 2 months, I just did push-ups and sit-ups every night before I got a shower. And then he noticed that he's like, Seth, it's kind of serious. Hey, Seth, I have old sand weights that I used to
lift with those were the best, man.
Sand weights, man. So he went and got him. He brought him home. He started teaching me how to use it. And that's all I used in the basement was sand weights for about 2 years until I was 15 years old. And I remember I played football in 9th grade, and I wrestled. And then after that, my dad was like, I'm going to take you to a gym that I know these guys. They're good guys. I'll take you to the gym. And it was a family of the York brothers, and there was 4 of them. And then right there, the game was over. That's all she fucking wrote, man. I fell in love with the gym instantly. And then for the next, couple of years, I was in the gym every single day, 5 days a week. I didn't even have my license. My mom would drop me off at 3:30 and pick me up at 6:30. That was the routine,
Yeah.
And then I just fell in love with the gym. I was just a gym rat. Learned stuff from everybody, worked hard, just enjoyed it, and made steady progress, And then I was about 17 years old and reading everything, all the magazines, any books, because it wasn't internet. You couldn't search the forums. You just read books. You went to Barnes and Nobles or whatever, and you bought a book. And then I was like, I want to be a professional bodybuilder. I was 17, and I was like, that's it. A couple guys at the gym were like, you want to do this, don't you? And I'm like, yes, I do. This is what I'm supposed to do. I had such a passion, And then I got to the OCD part of my life where I would never step on stage unless I looked the way I wanted to look. I was 19 years old. You should compete. No. I don't have hamstrings. I'm 20 years old. You should compete. Now my shoulders don't look good enough. They don't look like that guy's shoulders. No. I just had this vision of what I wanted to look like before I would ever, because I had insecurities about myself as well, which most of us all have. That's why we get into lifting weights. And I remember that, and I went to college, had fun in college, party, lifted weights, all that happy horse shit. That's another story for another time. But lifted the whole entire time. And my wife now, she was my girlfriend at the time. We're in Cleveland, first job, and I'm like training every day, driving her crazy, eating like a bodybuilder, training like a bodybuilder, everything, but I don't fucking compete. And she finally, after 2008 Nationals, I was looking at everything on the internet, scrolling through, Peter Putnam won the light heavyweights, Ed Nunn won the super heavyweights, and I'm looking at the light heavyweights and the heavyweights, and I'm like, I think I could do this. I think I'm ready. And her ultimatum was, you either compete or I'm fucking leaving you.
What? Usually the exact opposite for anybody who's been in a relationship and trying to figure out how they're going to work bodybuilding into their life. It's usually the complete opposite.
She's like, please, it wasn't a please stop. She was like, you either do it or I'm fucking done with you. And I was like, all right, and then that's all she wrote from there. In 2008, that was November 2008, and I was like, all right, let's do one. And then as we picked a show, it was in Northern Kentucky, March 14th, 2009. That was my first show, and I went in as a heavyweight. I was like 208, and I won the heavyweight class. And I was like, I want to do the Pittsburgh. And a guy there told me, he's like, you need to make light heavies. You need to get to the light heavies. And for the Pittsburgh, I ended up making light heavies. That's where me and Hani got hooked up. I hooked up with Steve from MD. Bill Comstock was taking the pictures then. And it was all something that just came together at the Pittsburgh. Won the light heavies, won the overall. And then from there, I was like, let's go for it.
No, I don't know if you're aware. There's a guy here from Wisconsin, one of the most accomplished bodybuilders that we've had here in Wisconsin. His name is TJ Shaneborn. He actually won the heavyweights at the North Americans. TJ won the heavyweights at North Americans in 2005, and at the time, it was only the overall. Otherwise, if you fast forward, if it was TJ in 2015, he'd easily have a pro card. But he was kind of, he had taken a few years off after the North Americans, was kind of doing his comeback, and I know he was really excited about doing the Pittsburgh show, wanted to get some good exposure, and, he had called me after prejudging, and he's like, dude, you got to see the legs on this guy I had to go up against. And I'm like, and TJ has really big legs. I mean, like ridiculous. Yeah. So I was like, calling me, telling me he's worried about somebody's legs. It's got to be pretty serious. So I wasn't sure if you were aware, but yeah, a guy pretty close to where I live that was done real well. That was, you kind of shut his comeback down a little bit.
At that show alone, they also had a Pro 202 there. It was a really good show. Everybody was there. And I remember him backstage, because he pulled me aside. I'm walking around, I'm getting ready, and he's like, dude, where did you come from? And I'm like, oh, I'm from Pittsburgh, and he says, no. He's like, where did you come from? I'm like, this is my second show, and he says, holy he's like, you're going to do well. And it was because we talked, and then he's like, yeah, I've been doing this a while, yada, yada, yada.
Yeah.
Great. He was a big ball dude.
Yeah.
And, yeah. And it was a good confidence booster. Second show, and people were like, you're going to do well. And that's whenever really high expectations of myself started. And I always had that, but, hearing things like that, and then being with Hani, and then getting exposure from MD, it really put me on the map at that time.
So you,
and then,
okay, go ahead.
No, and then it was just on to Nationals.
Yeah, so I was going to say, there was nothing between, Pittsburgh was in May, Nationals was in November. There was nothing for you in between Pittsburgh and in Nationals? You just did those two shows in Northern Kentucky and the Pittsburgh?
Well, that was kind of the big thing that people were like, you should do Junior Nationals or Junior USAs, and you should do this. And I was like, Hani, what do you think? And he says, to be honest, dude, he says,
skip it.
Skip it. He says, your body's already done 2 shows. He says, if we do this right and you don't fucking be a pussy, you can go do well at Nationals. And then as we got closer and closer to it, he's like, Seth, this is a really fucking big show. This is probably going to be one of the best Nationals ever.
Yeah, it was. I did a little bit of looking at some of the shows, and in 2009, you won the light heavyweights. I believe it's 9 or 10 out of the top 15 guys in your weight class are pros, which is unheard. If we look back through Nationals and you look through all the weight classes and stuff, and you rewind a couple of years, you'll see like, oh, that guy's a pro. Somebody who was 7th is a pro. I think in the super heavyweight, Steve Kuklo was like 13th that year or something. Yeah. So it's weird to look back and see Steve placed 13 in a national show in the NPC, but yeah, I'm looking through the list, and it's like Al Auguste, like Tamer, like Brandon Ray, Brad Davis, couple of the Masters pros, like Mike Yablon, and a couple of the other guys. I was like, holy shit! I was like, that was a stacked year. Yeah.
Because leading up to it, Hani was like, because I was getting a lot of hate because people were like, oh, he doesn't fucking belong, like on the forums and all this stuff. It's his 3rd show. He shouldn't even go. He's not even going to be in the top 5. And Hani's like, just fuck it, dude. Go into his zone, do your thing. He's like, and anybody out there that knows Hani or has ever worked with him, he's never going to tell you look good. He's never going to tell you anything.
He's the opposite of what's wrong with a lot of the coaches today. And so many of the coaches just want to keep competitors on their on their list of athletes, or keeping the paychecks coming in by telling them that they look great. And he's one of the few guys who's going to make sure that that there's always improvements that need to be made.
Looking back, I remember I was 2 weeks out, and I just got done doing evening cardio. I was probably 10 days out. And I'm downstairs posing, just finished up cardio, doing my 20 minutes of posing after that. And my dad's with me, and he's like, dude, nobody looks like you, man. He's like, you're fucking shredded. And I'm like, I don't know, man. I think Hani told me I'd look good if I was like ready, He's like, Seth, I'm looking at pictures of guys. He's like, they don't look like you, man. Yeah. And I'm like, I don't know, Dad, And then as we got, he's like, that was Hani and I, we nailed that show. It was really awesome.
At the time, like when we talk about coaches in this industry, and there's a lot of good ones, and for every one good coach, there's 50 bad ones. But you're only on your 3rd show. You're getting ready for Nationals, and and Hani has one of the best reputations for coaches. Not just in the last 10, 15 years, but pretty much all time. Obviously, he's done his work with Phil and Jeremy Buendia and Nicole Wilkins, and he's had a lot of Olympia champions. At the time, in 2009, when you were working with Hani, did it ever kind of sink in, like, I'm getting ready for my first national show, and I'm like working with like the best coach there, pretty much one, or at least one of the best that there is?
Yes, he took me under his wing, and he taught me so much, and pretty much, and he said, just listen to me. He said, I'm not going to steer you in the wrong direction. He's like, if you do this right, you have the ability to do very well in this sport. And I'm a fanboy of bodybuilding. I knew everything about everybody. I know all the old school shit. I know, I was into it. So having been with him, it was like starstruck and like awestricken at times. And he's like, just calm down. He's like, this is what we got to do. So and he him taking me under his wing put something in me that was like, I can't disappoint him, but at the same time, I want to make him proud. It wasn't so much of I don't want to disappoint him, but it was like, I just want him to be proud of me and what I can achieve, because he's putting his name on me as well.
Yeah.
So Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, so you came out with a win. You know, obviously, first call out, dead center. I mean, how long did it take to sink in? You know, after prejudging that you pretty much had locked down a pro card at your first national show.
When Tamer Al-Gundi pulled me aside and he said, "You're going to win this show," and I was like, "I don't know, man. You're pretty shredded, bro."
Yeah.
I was like, "An hour, pretty nasty," and he says, "No, Seth." He's like, "You're going to win." He's like, "You look phenomenal." He's like, "I think we all work really hard." He's like, "For you to look like you did at Pittsburgh and what you look like now," he's like, "You worked incredibly hard." He's like, "Be proud of what you are." He's like, "You're going to do well. Don't worry." So at that point, it kind of calmed my nerves. But at the same time, always, it was my first big show. And in the back of my head, I'm like, I think I'm going to do well. And people were telling me, they're like, "Dude, you're going to win." But there's never that thing that you ever want to tell yourself, "Oh, I'm going to win. I'm going to win." Good. No, you always have to keep I don't know. I just can't do that to myself. I can't be that sure of myself.
Sure.
There's other people out there. All these guys they're, like you said, they're all professionals now. And it's like to go to a pro show, the same thing. Don't think there's somebody out there not working just as hard as you, if not harder. They want it just as bad as you. That's what makes competition fun. So that's where I was. And then whenever it was Al and I at the end at the finals, I was like, I kind of that's whenever I had the feeling. I was like, yep. I was like, I think I got this one. And then I did. It was pretty awesome.
Nice. Well, you had a fun overall. You got to go up against Cedric, who won the he won the supers and obviously the overall that year. That had to be a fun experience.
He is somebody that it was great to develop a relationship with him because he's Cedric. I mean, he's a huge ball buster. Being around him, you can't not have a good time. And then and there's Hani will drive this one home hard. He's like, Cedric didn't win unanimously. He's like, and he tells me, he's like, you had votes for the overall, Seth. And a couple of the judges afterwards, they came and they were like, you had votes for the overall. You did look good. I'm like, that's great. I'm happy I won my pro card, and Cedric is phenomenal. He's grown into what he is today. And, I don't ever want to take anything away from him, but, I wouldn't mind crossing paths with him if we both won the show.
Yeah, you're like, I got a couple of votes against him.
Try to take the old school approach at him and dig in a little bit.
All right, so 2010, you jump into your first pro show at the Europa, only your fourth show, and in the same fashion which you win in the Nationals. First pro show, under 202, so you didn't move up too much in weight, but you walk away with another win in your first pro show. How was that?
It was pretty awesome. Yeah, it was good. It was, the 202s had just come into play the year before, so it was like, that was where I was going. And I didn't like it in my head to be restricted because it was hard enough making the 197 for nationals, and then I was 200, and I went right back to 235 in the off season, and it was like, okay, we got to get back down, and I put on decent muscle. I'm at 211, and I remember Hani being like, he's like, just get ready, dude. We got to start pulling really fucking hard to get to the 202.
Yeah.
And that's whenever, I remember I felt like absolute dog shit for that show. It was really hard making weight. And afterwards, I was just, it beat the hell out of me. Afterwards, I'm like, dude, I'm not doing this. I can't do 202. I can't make weight. I was like, it just does not working out,
Yeah, and you got qualification for the Olympia that year with the show win, but you didn't do the Olympia that year, did you?
No, I didn't do it. It was a little rough on the body. It beat me up, and I just didn't feel comfortable with it. With the drugs and the diuretics and waking and doing it again. And to be honest, my head wasn't there. My head wasn't ready for it because I didn't have it. And looking back at it now, I can be honest and not lie about it. But then I'd find any excuse to think that, I'm just going to do the open. Don't worry about it. I'm just going to move up anyway. And now looking back, I do regret not doing it. But at the same time, it was really hard on me to make that weight. It got ugly at the end.
Yeah,
so,
I can imagine.
Everybody knows whenever you're doing that. But it's something that now, like with how I'm doing things now, it's like, I have to keep in my head that I can't get over 240 pounds. Like, you can't do that, Seth. Don't get up that high. Don't. You got to stay clean. You got to make sure you're all that. And that's something that just takes experience and learning.
All right. Now you competed a few more times in 2012. Was that open, or was that in that was in the open division, wasn't it?
Well, I did the open. I took 2011 off. I put on some good size, and then in 2012 I wanted to go to the open. And at that time, in 2012, nothing worked, man. My head wasn't in it. Home life here wasn't right because I was traveling a lot. I was training a lot. I became a product of the negativity of the industry and my own self. I let myself eat myself alive. I tried doing everything rather than utilize my circle for what it is. And that developed, a lot of personal problems with my wife and I. Just the family was a mess. And then in 2012, when I started prep and I started getting into it, my head wasn't there. So it's not that it was me. I look back and I'm like, I didn't do the right things. I didn't take the time to put the right conditioning on things. I wanted to stay fuller. I wanted to be bigger, like the big guys. And it didn't work out. So after that, I took 6th at the Toronto Pro, and rather than be mature about it and say, okay, Seth, take a couple days to yourself, get your shit right, and go to another show, I let every person's influence take a hold. Anything that anyone said, I accepted it. I didn't kick it out and say, no, fuck you, I'm just going to do this. I let everybody influence me. And at that point, that's with all the shit that was going on in my life, I was just like, fuck it, So I didn't do any shows after that until, I think I did a show, it was in October. I did a show, no, August 7th, I did the Sarasota. I did Sarasota. And at that time, I dropped down to the 212 class because everyone told me to go to 212. They're like, go to the 212. Well, I stopped working with Lonnie because I threw a bitch fit and didn't want to work with him anymore because I wanted to blame him rather than blame myself.
Sure.
So that's, everybody knows that. And so I went in and did it on my own. Well, everybody, if they do things on their own, they're not in a good spot. There's no second pair of eyes. There's nobody really guiding you.
Yeah.
I ended up just being like more of everything. Let's diet harder. Let's train harder. Let's do more cardio. Let's take more drugs. Let's do fucking everything and go as hard as you can. That's not a good idea.
It doesn't always work that way. Yeah. Well, I think a lot of us have been there.
That's an amateur mistake, is what it is. So at that point, I ended up shitting the bed at that show. My body stopped responding to what I was trying to do. And that's whenever I was like, okay. I threw my hands up after the show, and I was like, I'm fucking done. I'm done. I'm just a mess. Nothing was going right at that point, My passion was dead. My relationship with my coach was dead. I ruined that. And then my home life was a mess. I'm like, what the fuck am I doing? It didn't make any sense. And it was because I look back and I can talk about it because I let the negativity win. I let the influence of everything influence me, my thoughts, my actions, my household, my everything. And at that point, that's why I said, fuck it, because I wasn't being me. I wasn't able to I just wasn't who I am today. And that's really why I am the way I am today. Because I know that.
I mean, I think we've seen a handful of guys that, the general consensus was like, these guys can be huge stars. I remember in the early 2000s, shortly after I started competing, I was a huge fan of Chris Cook, and he kind of got in the same situation where, he turned pro, did a couple shows and backed off, and he's done great in other aspects of his life, but he never looked back with bodybuilding as far as I know. I chat with him here and there on Facebook a little bit, but it's pretty few and far in between. But you got to a point, obviously after a few-year break, where you kind of wanted to start getting back, at least in the industry. Now, in those couple of years, you weren't, I don't want to use the word recognizable because everybody recognized you, but you were kind of out of the limelight for a handful of years. Were you still going to the gym, or did you kind of just throw your hands in the air with that as well?
I said fuck everything for about a year and a half. I literally, no, I stopped lifting weights. I was like, I need to focus on other parts of my life. I need to become a better dad. I need to become a better husband. I need to become a better person, and I need to find out like who I am and what I really want in life. And yeah.
How did your body respond to stop training? You know, it's one of those questions like, you know, you can see some guys, I know guys that'll, you know, take time off from the gym and yeah, they're a little bit smaller and a little bit softer, but they still have a good athletic look. And some guys, if they take, you know, 4, 5, 6 months off, you know, you see them and you're like, oh, you lift weights? Like, oh, cool. You wouldn't think it. You know, how did your body respond? I mean, were you able to hang on to some size or did most of it just kind of...
You know, if I'm not, I wasn't working out regularly. I'd probably work out here and there, but not like actually go to the gym and be serious about anything. I was like 210, eating pretty much whatever I wanted, 205 to 210. You know, you could still see that I was a bigger guy, but it took some time for everything to come off, like all the weight to come off. But once I was there, I was 210, 208, somewhere around there. That's where I always hung out, you know. And then, yeah, so about 200 pounds, 210. And then in 2015 is whenever, that's whenever I was like, you know, I kind of missed the gym. I really fucking missed the gym. I really miss it. And I started realizing, because at the time I was working as a consultant and I was doing a lot of trainings and doing a lot of speaking. And that's whenever I realized how much I miss doing seminars and how much I miss really engaging with people and having a connection and getting people to do better. Because as a consultant, when I was a safety consultant for different corporations, and what I would do is I'd go in there and help them learn the law and how to do their job better, how to make sure they stay safe, how to help, you know, manage foremans and other employees. And I realized that that's what I really love to do. I fell in love with it again, and I was like, and I started getting back into the gym, started lifting weights, and I'm like, holy shit, I really miss the industry. I really miss doing that. And whenever I was like, I started getting more serious with it in my head, I really wasn't telling anybody about this.
Right.
Because it was like, all of a sudden I was going to get the influx of, oh, fuck, here we go, Seth's at it again, you know? And then I was like, I just felt, like I said, I just fell in love with it again. And then I was like, but if I come back into the industry, I want to be me. I don't want anyone, I don't want to have to take shit from anyone. I don't want to be influenced, because I haven't been influenced in the past 3 years. I've just been being myself, and things have been going really well for me. I'm just this silly bastard from Western PA that, you know, I'm a humble guy. I'm a mediocre guy. I just like trucks. I like guns. I like beer. I like tits. I like all the fun stuff all guys like.
Have you
know, like, so if I come back, I just want to be me. I don't want to be the clean cut white guy that does all the right shit with this and that.
Have you seen J.M. Mannion posts it? I hadn't seen it before. The Pittsburgh dad. Have you seen these videos?
Yeah.
Oh my god! The first one JM posted a while ago, I was like, what's this? And I saw a little bit of it, skipped over it, and I watched the last few, just dying. How accurate a representation of middle-aged men in Pittsburgh is the Pittsburgh dad on Facebook?
100%.
Okay. If you guys haven't seen this, you got to go on Facebook. Like I said, Jan Mannion posts the videos all the time, but look up Pittsburgh Dad. They're hilarious. You know, and coming from Wisconsin, I'm sure sooner or later somebody should make a Wisconsin Dad. I'm sure that would be an interesting one with plenty of quirks. But yeah, that Pittsburgh Dad. In fact, I just watched the one from this weekend after the win over the Dolphins. I was just dying.
So they're priceless, because it's a true yinzer. Like when anybody from out of town comes around. And actually, the film guys, they're from north of Philly, and my parents were having a Steeler party for the Dolphins game. So they were like, I was like, hey guys, we're gonna go over and have a Steeler party, and we're gonna hang out for a few hours. And they're like, great, you know. So they come in on Sunday, and I'm like, hey, I was like, just so you know, there's gonna be a true yinzer at the party. And they're like, hey, what do you mean? Instead of saying y'all, we say yins. It's just ridiculous slang word meaning you all. And they call us yinzers because, you know, if you're a yinzer, you're a Pittsburgher, and a Pittsburgh dad's a yinzer. You love fucking the Pittsburgh Penguins. You love the Steelers. It doesn't matter. You love Pittsburgh, okay? And they're loud. They're obnoxious. And if you, like, they want to control the game, everything. And we get over there, and the Steelers just start kicking the shit out of him, and he goes nuts. And they're like, yep, We got it.
That's pretty accurate.
Oh, it's wonderful.
Oh God.
But that's like, and that's what's embodied here in Western PA in this area. You know, Pittsburgh. It's such a blue collar area that it's about hard work. It's about family. It's about enjoying your life. It's not about being the richest person of monetary value, but being rich in life. You know, having a good family, taking care of your kids, helping your neighbor out. Whenever, you know, there's people, the guy down the road, man, if I called him at 3 a.m., he'd answer his phone and say, what do you need? Same goes vice versa. That's what I grew up. And I feel like before I kind of lost that. I started, you know, like blaming Haughty. Like people around here, we don't do that. You know, you take responsibility, hold yourself accountable. And that's really what the American Roughneck embodies, is that. Because everybody has that quality. You know, everybody can be that person, that just be that reliable son of a bitch that takes care of your family, that's there when you need them, that tells you when you're fucking up, rather than going behind your back and saying, oh, he's a fuck up, he's a waste of life, rather than look him dead in the eye and say, let me help you. What do you need, man? What can I do to help you? So whenever I came back, I was like, this is what I want to be. This is who I am. I'm not going to let anybody take it away from me. And there's not many things in the industry that really encapsulate all of that into one, because it's kind of a fuck you mentality in a sense. I'm going to be me. Don't try and change me. This is who we are. So it's worked out because the company has grown. We've gotten a tremendous response, and the messages that I get from all the YouTube videos I'm doing are really incredible. And it's solidifying that I'm going to continue down this path, because I'm encouraging people, because a lot of people like to talk about their flaws or their inconsistencies or insecurities about themselves, because it shows vulnerability. And I'm to the point in my life where it's like, it doesn't matter, because I have to make money to feed my family. I have to make sure that the kids have the roof over their head. Everyone's taken care of. And if you don't like me, then I can't change that. So move on.
Move on.
So, yeah.
Right.
But it's something that this time around with everything, it's what I'm holding dear, and what's a huge driving force behind my mentality now, where I'm going, and what I got planned for this year and years to come.
All right, so you start getting back in the gym.
Yeah.
How does that transpire to a resurgence in the industry itself? Because, you know, obviously you started training again. I'm sure with your genetics, you started seeing response. But, you know, just being back in the gym in Pittsburgh doesn't necessarily mean you're making breaking news, you know, amongst, you know, the professional circuit and stuff like that. So how did that kind of transpire between getting back into the gym and all of a sudden you're back to being spoken about quite frequently in the industry?
It was at the end of 2015 is whenever I was like, yep, I'm coming back. I want to get back into the industry. I wanted to do my own thing, and all that happened was just one thing led to another. It went from being at the gym a couple days a week, 3 days a week, 5 days a week. I'd go, you know, do workout. I'd go to the gym 2 days, take a day off, 2 days on, 1 day off, 2 days on. I did that. And that's whenever things just started clicking and my body started responding. And I'm like, oh man, I'm having a really good time. And then I started I started paying attention to the industry again. I started following people, and I started looking around on Instagram, Facebook. And I was like, I think it'd be fun to come back. And then I talked to Jason Ha, and he's like, did you ever think about coming back? And I'm like, kinda. He's like, you know, I think if you came back, he's like, I think the industry would be a better place, because he's like, it needs better people. And I'm like, well, yeah, I mean, I kind of think about it. He's like, you're lifting weights again, aren't you? I'm like, yeah, you know, because he's helped me in the past with some of my, in 13 and 14, whenever I was trying to get all my shit right. And we talk here and there, but this time it was, you know, more in depth. And I was like, yeah, you know, I'm thinking about it. He's like, well, whenever you decide to come back, why don't you let me know? I'll give you a hand. And I was like, God, he's like, you know I'm going to. And then at the very end of 2015, I was like, yep, I'm there. We started filming videos, the All-American Roughneck video. We started getting the shirts ready and doing everything. And then that's whenever I was like, yep, I'm coming back, and I want to get with people that want to do the same thing I'm doing. I want to get around people that want to they want to help, they want to become better. They want to have an influence. And I knew PJ and Aaron from years ago when they first started Blackstone back in, I think, 2000, end of 2012, maybe. And I was like, I remember because I was with Muscle Tech in 2013, and I ran into them at an expo, and they were like, "Hey, if anything happens with Muscle Tech, why don't you give us a call?"
Okay.
I was like, "Oh, okay." And I was like, "Yeah, man," because they always treated me right. We were friends for years, and from him being with RX and Species and all that. So I was thinking, I'm going to give him a call because I'd taken Dust and I'd taken Height. And I took Formula 19 and Intra MD from Prime and Blackstone, and those were the supplements I was messing with. And I was like, that the Dust got me hooked on the pre-workout. The Dust and Hype, that was the first stack I bought coming back. And I was like, if I'm going to go with the supplement company, I kind of want to go with one that actually have a common vision with, pretty hardcore. And then I called them, and they were like, "You're coming back?" And I'm like, "Yeah." They're like, "What do you look like?" I'm like, "What? I got a video that I filmed a video, and I'm coming back." Like,
what do you look like?
Yeah, that was the thing. They're like skeptical. They're like, "Nobody's."
Yeah, that's a good story, but how do you look, right?
Yeah, it's like, what are you trying to do here? So I sent over everything. I sent over the video. I sent over the pictures. I sent over everything. And PJ, they got on a conference call, called me the next day, and they were like, "This is pretty good, man. This is pretty big." And I'm like, "Yeah."
How did that come along? We talk, obviously anybody who follows bodybuilding, competes, knows that the pros are the genetically elite of the genetically elite. And you have some guys, Kevin Levrone, can take years off, and as soon as they come back, the muscle comes right back. I mean, when you started getting back seriously into the gym, was it just like a rebound and everything started coming back like it used to, or was it a little bit more of a gradual process?
It was a gradual process because I wasn't aggressive with the protocol.
Okay.
It was gradual, but I responded quickly. Like within a month, you could tell I was lifting weights again. But it wasn't like a dramatic change where I gained 20 pounds and all this, because I was like I said, I was very, very conservative, and I just wanted to see how I'd feel, how my joints would respond, yada, yada, yada. And then as I felt better and better, I was like, okay, let's take the next step and put this into the program and see what happens. And that's why I think I've been able to attain the look, because I was like, I don't want to get too big. I don't want to be 250 pounds.
Right.
I want to have a tight waist. I want to have an old school look, but have some serious fucking size to my shoulders, my back. I want to have like a little cartoon looking arms and have good sweep and have a good look,
Yeah. Pretty much every picture I've seen of you in the last year and a half, you've looked like you're about 4 to 6 weeks out from a competition. I mean, are you eating that clean? Are you doing a lot of cardio, or is this just kind of naturally high metabolism? I mean, because you're staying significantly leaner for not having competed than almost any bodybuilder, minus a few of the guys who are just have crazy metabolisms.
I'm a fat kid at heart. I love fucking food. I love everything. Yeah, dude. I'm a foodie. I love it. But what this time around, like I said, I just learned what worked for me. Like, I don't eat a lot of red meat. I can't. It just messes my stomach up. Dairy, I can't do a lot of dairy. I found the foods that agree with me and just stick to them. Because it's right now with everything I'm doing, I'm busy all the time. I'm like, in the evenings or on the weekends, that's whenever I get my foodie in. But it's at the same time, I just know that I can't go overboard because I want to look good. But at the same time, I just want to feel good. Like, the one thing was, man, I hated being this fucking oven. This 245-pound oven that was just hot all the time. I'm breathing, I'm sweating all the time. It's like, I remember my brother, we went to the movies, I was like 248 pounds. And that was like our thing. We'd go to the movies once a month. And he's sitting next to me, and he's like, bro, he's like, I can't sit with you.
He's going to move over a seat.
A fucking oven. He's like, I've got to sit over here. And then, like, I think, and I'm starting, this is fucked up, but it's like, even with, fucking the old lady, you're on top. cardio in weeks. This is so fucking hard.
Yeah, God, yeah. I think anybody who's that's ever gotten into a good off-season weight has experienced the latter of those two things, and it's not always that good, but
No, it's not always a feeling. It's like, I look great, honey. Look at this. She's like, yeah, sure. Get the fuck off of me.
Yeah, that'll happen. Yeah, but I tell you what, I'd like to be that lean all year round too, man. I like food too much. You know, I was gonna cook up some ground turkey and rice this Sunday, and then this Papa John's app I downloaded keeps sending me alerts. Look, guys, I'm well aware I can go in my notifications on my iPhone and turn off the Papa John's alerts, but I don't want to. But I mean, are you giving yourself a little bit of a break and having cheat meals and stuff like that, or is it pretty tight?
Don't get me. I eat high calorie meals. Like, what I'll do is rather than because like I said, I hate having an upset stomach. It drives me insane. So like, I love pizza, but it's like I eat pizza like once a month now because I know it's just going to destroy my stomach. It's going to fuck my evening up and my next morning. So it's like I'll go and eat a ridiculous amount of sushi. We'll do homemade burgers. What we've been doing is kind of like staying in control. So I just have crazy high calorie meals rather than like an all out pig cheat meal.
Okay.
We do desserts and we do all that. And it's worked out, so I kind of been able to stay in control, but I'm not as lean as everybody thinks I am. At least I don't think so. Like, I can't, like, I'm not even dieting. I'm just eating clean and having fun and being as stress-free as possible. That's like a really hard thing to say and then like achieve. And I'm not saying I'm never fucking stressed out, but at the same time, it's like, I remember how stressed I was in 2012. I was a mess, man, and I don't want to be like that anymore. I hate that feeling. It ruins everything in life.
Yeah, it takes a lot of the fun out of bodybuilding when you realize it starts becoming a burden on the rest of your life.
Yeah, and everybody else that's in your circle. You know what I mean? And then it's like, oh, well, now my kids are stressed out. My wife's stressed out. Now, fuck my life. You know, it's not a fun feeling to be in. So and that's something that, you know, with what I'm doing and talking about, like, being open about this stuff, and not many people are, because I still get some fucked up messages from people, you know, people saying, you know, you're fake, you're an asshole, this whole persona is not you, you know, this is a big bag of shit, and it's like, I'm like, okay, because, you know, you could have 1,000 great emails, but that one email.
That's one that catches you off guard, yeah.
You're gonna stick it, and you're like, dude, what, who pissed in your Cheerios, man? What's wrong? I want to know. My thing is, I'm like, how can I help you, man? You sound like you're in a really fucking
You're angry. What the hell?
Why are you so angry?
Why are you so mad? Yeah, well, you're never going to keep anybody happy. You know, and the thing is, like, it's interesting about this industry is that, you know, we are able to be a little bit more liberal as far as the type of language we use. And, you know, when guys do interviews and stuff, they're able to speak your mind a little bit more than some other sports. But, people got to remember the athletes are still trying to keep, you know, fans happy. They have, you know, responsibilities to their supplement companies and stuff like that. So, you know, a lot of guys are probably a little bit more outspoken and a little bit more genuine than you might think. But, you know, again, because of the position they're in, you really don't get that. And it's, you know, it's refreshing for people to see how somebody like actually is, no filter. But some people have a hard time accepting it too, and they think, well, there's no way he's really like this. This is all just a show. And it's like, no, not really. You know.
I tell people within the first 5 or 10 minutes of meeting me, I'm gonna use obscenities you don't like. I'm gonna say something inappropriate, and there's a chance I'm probably gonna do something inappropriate. Doesn't matter if you're a grandma, a mom, a fucking, you know, a dad. It doesn't matter. It's kind of like I'm always gonna be myself, because the one thing I learned about life is that it's not a nice place. It's what you make it. And if you let the negativity win, then you're fucked, man. And it's kind of like, I've been kicked when I've been knocked down, and I stood back up, and I got knocked down again, and I got kicked when I was on the ground, and then I got kicked again when I was on the ground, and I'm like, well, fuck me, what am I supposed to do? And a lot of people have been in that situation. You know, I'm not the only person that has ever felt like, I just want to give up. This isn't even worth it. And it's those things that you just gotta, You gotta just stand back up, be you, and do what you can to become better. You gotta say, fuck it, if this happened for a reason. I know it's a cliche thing to say,
Yeah, but
everything happens for a reason, but it does. It's kind of testing you. It's kind of like whether you believe in God or whatever, or don't even believe in it at all. Today, that son of a bitch really pushed my fucking buttons, and I can do things different. I can do two different things: the right thing or the wrong thing. And a quote that I say a lot in my head, at least to myself, is "You're never wrong to do the right thing." And whenever you think of it that way, it's like I'm never wrong to do the right thing.
Seth, I gotta have you back up a little bit. We're losing the bottom of your beard in the video. You gotta just slide back a little. We don't want to lose the beard.
No, I can't. I had to plug my phone in. I didn't want it to die on me.
No, we'll wrap things up here pretty quick. Before we wrap things up, though, obviously a topic that everybody wants to know, and I know you've had this question numerous times in the past year and a half, 2 years. When's the return to the stage coming?
This year.
He's just smiling like a little kid. It's this year. I mean, do you have a show picked out, or is that yet to be announced?
I do not have a show picked out quite yet. I know. Hold on.
Yeah, your face is a little low on my end. Yeah, there you go.
I'm gonna work his son of a bitch out somehow.
We'll get back. Right now, we're just getting a good close up of the. There you go. Perfect.
Hey, look at that. I'm so good at my job. This technology thing, I'm really good at it. But the big thing this in 2016 was I just wanted to learn my body. I love bodybuilding. I love experimenting. That's really what we all do a lot with nutrition, supplementation, protocols, everything. We want to learn how it reacts with us. And that's been, it's been my passion with it all. But now, I was like, I want to compete. I want to. It's that thing inside of us all that's just like, yeah, I really, you miss it. And then you're like, boy, when you're 6 weeks out, boy, it fucking sucks. And then you're like, but it is really fucking awesome looking like you're 6 weeks out.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, look at this leg. This is awesome.
Yeah.
So you see guys getting ready, and then watching the Olympia last year and watching everybody prep for it, I'm like, man, I really want to do it again. So, and whenever I came back at the beginning of 16, I had no intentions of competing. I was like, I really don't want to. It's not really in me yet. I didn't have it. And now I'm like, yeah, it's in me. So, Hani and I, we've been talking. We started working together again. And the picture that sparked the one I just released now, I'm like 237 pounds right now. I feel good. Everything's really working well. And we didn't nail a showdown yet. There's a slew of them that happen late spring, early summer. Mm-hmm. Some they just go boom, 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 boom.
Yeah,
boom.
some Europas, the New York, Chicago show, and first weekend in July. Yeah, there's a bunch.
Yeah, there's a lot. I think there's one in Tampa. There's one in Vancouver, Chicago, Dallas. So it's like they're all right there in that. And I think my goal is to qualify for the Olympia.
Are you guys thinking? Aside from. And obviously, I posted your updated picture on the Muscular Development forums the other day. People were very impressed. But the critics and it's a good comment is that until we see you standing next to other people, it's going to be hard to say how you're going to fare. That being said, I've been around bodybuilding long enough to know that minus a couple of the top guys, I don't need to see you next to certain other guys to know that you can definitely be winning shows. Now, if you win a show, is it going to be win one, you're qualified, hold off to the Olympia, or are you going to try to hit a few?
It all depends on how I feel and what Hani and I decide. We're going to pick shows where we make sure that we qualify, but at the same time, it's like if we hit it and we believe that I don't know what I'm going to look like. I have an idea. I had an idea of what I wanted to look like 8 weeks ago to now, and I'm achieving that, and I still have the things that I need to work on. And the same thing will happen going into a show. So if it's like we win, and it's like, okay, we got 13, 15, 11 weeks to the Olympia. It's like, okay, We qualified. Let's work on this. Or
Shut it down.
let's take
Right.
weeks off and then start prep again. It's kind of it'll be that. It's like, maybe I might want to impose my will a little bit and go do a few shows.
Yeah, I mean, like you said, you got a couple of them are, I mean, between Chicago and Tampa, those are all with, you got 3 shows within 4 weeks: Chicago, Vancouver, a week or 2 off, and then Tampa. So, and obviously New York is in the middle of May. So yeah, there's a handful of good shows that I know people would love to see you on stage at. So we definitely look forward to hearing an official announcement whenever that may be coming.
People are rightfully so whenever they say, I know a lot of people are like, oh, Flex is in trouble, this and that. It's like, well, he's the fucking champ. You know what I mean? It's like he is exactly what a champ should be.
Oh, absolutely.
You can't take anything away from that dude. He's a badass. And people are like, and I have to qualify before I can even stand on the same stage as that guy, and I got to get through other really good competitors. And the great thing about the 212s, and what I love the most about it, is the fact that we're all 212 pounds. It's like Flex is freakish. So for me, I'm like 237 right now. It's like, okay, how am I going to get from 237 to 212? What do I have to do? Where is that muscle going to get eaten away from? And how are we going to achieve that look? And that's why it's like right now, I really can't gain too much more weight. So I don't really, and some of these guys are maxed out on their weight, like Flex. Everybody knows Flex is maxed out, but he's perfect.
Right.
He's so polished. So that's the look that I really have to achieve from now until the next show, and then from the next show until the Olympia is achieve that look. And if it doesn't happen this year, I'm going to come back at it next year.
Yeah. If I was a betting person, which I'm not really much of a bet. I've made a few fun bets about some of these playoff games, but nothing crazy. But if I was a betting person, I would put quite a bit on seeing Seth Feroce on State Olympia in 2017. So for what that's worth, but I tell you what, man, I really appreciate your time. Interview definitely been a fun one. I appreciate your honesty. We're gonna wrap up with a couple of completely non-bodybuilding questions. Something. I think I say this every show, but there's a local sportscaster here who does some really fun stuff with the Packers. Every time he does one of his locker room shows, and he just goes completely, left of anything that has anything to do with football. And I'm like, you know what, that would be fun for some of these. So I got 5 questions.
All right.
Don't have anything to do with bodybuilding. Question number 1. What was the first live concert you were ever at?
Oh, man.
That's what everybody says. They're like, oh, I don't want to say it.
It was Rascal Flatts, their country band.
Oh, that's not that bad.
Not that bad. It wasn't hardcore or anything.
Yeah, we had, Jose Raymond's first concert was Madonna when he was 10 years old. He went with his oldest brothers, and he was drinking at the concert at 10, which was a pretty awesome story. And I'm a huge 80s music fan. And when I asked Jay Cutler what his first concert was, he was like, oh, man, I don't know if I want to say it. And I'm like, whoa, what? And he's like, I went and saw Richard Marx with this girl. And I was like, yes, love Richard Marx. That's nothing to be ashamed of. So, no, I have a hard time, with between Jose drinking at a Madonna concert at 10 and Jay Cutler going to Richard Marx. I have a hard time believing I'm going to hit up a lot of interviews where people's first concerts are more interesting than those two guys.
Yes. Good. Those are good.
Were you sitting in the crowd singing along with "God Bless the Broken Road" or "Lighters Out"?
A couple other dudes and a group of girls, and it was all that. It was a good time. It wasn't.
That's not too bad then. No. All right. Question number 2: If you had one superpower, if you could have one superpower, what would it be?
Fly.
That's a pretty good one. I think I've done like a half a dozen of these interviews. Like 3 people have said fly. The other 3 have said X-ray vision.
That's a good one, yeah.
And of course, Jose Raymond said X-ray vision. Not much of a surprise. But all right. Question number 3: Your favorite person to follow on social media?
Oh man. So Chris Nemchek from Blackstone Labs is such a, I don't even know how to describe him. I think it's your daily dose of reality and he is just a fucked up, ignorant pervert. And the posts he makes, like I'm on my phone. It's 10:30 at night, and I'm on my phone on the couch, and my wife will be sitting on the other couch or sitting next to me or something, and I'm like, and then she's like, "Who the fuck are you talking to?" No, it's just Chris, and she's like, stop following him. That's just wrong.
Just stop. I think we've all got a few. I have I post a lot of stupid stuff on social media, but I try to keep most of it stuff where if my aunts who I'm friends with on Facebook see it, they're not going to be calling me. Which some of my stuff is borderline, but I got buddies who post just some hilarious stuff that I really want to repost, but I'm like, yeah, I probably shouldn't. Kevin Jordan absolutely kills me on Facebook, and I'm like about to hit the share button. I'm like, maybe not, But all right, question number 4: your favorite non-bodybuilding athlete, other sports?
Oh man, if it comes the Yinzer part of me, dude, Ben Roethlisberger.
Big Ben.
Big Ben. I love the guy, man. He's there's a few people that I know in the area that know him, that they've become somewhat friends with him. The one guy was a mechanic and he worked on all his stuff. And I've been a fan of him because he's a couple years older than me, I think. And I've just been a fan since he was in college at Miami University in Ohio. And I was like, he went through a whole bunch of shit, but handled it pretty well because he was a dumb college kid, or not a college kid, but a dumb, guy making a whole lot of money when he was young. But with everything that he does for Pittsburgh, the dude does so much for the communities around here. And then knowing people that work on all his stuff and are around him, they said he is literally a phenomenal person. Treats everybody the same way. Doesn't treat you any different than he would his family. And hearing stuff like that when you're worth $100 million, that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
And so it's kind of one of those things that somebody I'd really like to meet isn't an asshole. And at least if I saw him, I'd be like, oh man, that's pretty cool. He's a good dude. You don't always get that. So yeah.
That's definitely cool. Troy Polamalu came to, I think it was Masters Nationals or North Americans a few years ago. All of a sudden I'm sitting there, they brought him in through the back and through backstage and had some chairs set up for him. And I'm sitting there, it's like doing my own thing, typing my play-by-play, and I look over, and I'm like, oh shit, this is Troy Polamalu. It was pretty cool. So I think Pittsburgh puts out a lot of those football players that seem to just have a real, their personalities seem to reflect the personality of this city. I know I was I guess I don't think you ever stopped being a fan, but a huge Rod Woodson fan, a huge Jerome Bettis fan, my dad, a Green Bay Packer fan, just loved Jerome Bettis. He's it's a fat guy that can run the ball, and it was there's a lot of guys on the Steelers that are easy to like, so
I don't think there was a household that didn't have at least one Jerome Bettis jersey when he played.
And rightfully so.
Had one.
Yeah. All right. Last question. Your first ever celebrity crush.
Oh man. Why does that pop in my head first? It's kind of fucking weird. Yeah. Probably gonna be Meg Ryan.
There's nothing wrong with having Meg Ryan as a
No,
celebrity.
I'm just thinking, I don't know why it was because I'm trying to think of whenever I was a kid, but then no, I remember being 10, 11, 12 years old, and my mom was a Meg Ryan fan, and she'd always have her shows on. I'm like, she's really cute. I don't know why I like watching all her movies. Yeah.
Just
all of them. All of them.
Sitting there watching movies with your mom. She's like, oh, this is great family time. And meanwhile, you just want to watch Meg Ryan. Yeah, nothing wrong with that at all. So, all right, man. Well, I tell you what, this interview ran a little longer than I think I told you it would, but I really appreciate the time. Best of luck moving forward with everything, and just give us a little heads up when the that's all I ask. Maybe a day heads up when the announcement is coming for the 2017 show.
we'll
We'll
be.
make it.
I'll
We'll make it
let
like a
them know.
big thing on the front page. Seth Feroce picks his show. No, I'm dead serious. Steve will probably be like, "We gotta make an announcement for Seth's show." So I'm sure that'll be coming our way. But again, thank you very much for your time. Really appreciate it. Best of luck for everything moving forward. I'm sure we'll see you at one of these shows. Assuming you're gonna be at the Arnold.
Oh yeah, for sure.
All right. Well, we'll see you in a handful of weeks then. All right, man.
Fucking A, man. Thank you guys. I really appreciate this, dude. Thank you.
All right, guys. That is going to do it for us for this week's episode of MD All Access. Once again, big thanks to Seth Feroce, and that's going to do it for us. So we are out. See you guys next week.